Hello, everyone. Good morning. Hope you're having a great week so far. Dr. Z here with yet another episode of Tooth Teacher Tuesday. Today, answering a question that wouldn't say we get a lot, but we do get from time to time as dentists, which is something along the lines of, every time I have to get dental work done, I dread it because I have a hard time getting numb. It seems like no matter what my dentist tries to do, they just load me up with tons and tons of anesthetic and I still can't get numb. And so why do I have a hard time getting numb? And it's kind of a multi-point question, a lot of different factors that can play into this. Um, Obviously part of it could just be that maybe your anatomy is different variation that, we as your dentists are trained that, okay, if you numb in this spot, things should get numb. And so sometimes with different variations in anatomy, that training is not quite spot on. And so, it could just be user error on part of your dentist that we're just not numbing in quite the right spot to get you to the level of numbing that we need to. Although I'd like to think that those instances are few and far between. Most of us dentists, we, done this enough that we're usually able to overcome that problem, but none of us are perfect. So what are some other reasons we might have a hard time getting numb? Another possibility is that, each of us have a different level of metabolism. Some of us have a high metabolism, some of us have a low metabolism, and certainly for anyone that has a high metabolism, you're going to have a tendency to burn off anesthetic much quicker, going to need a larger dose of it than the average person. So that can be one reason. Another possibility is depending on the situation, especially if we're talking about trying to numb a tooth that's infected. Specifically, if we've got an infected tooth that we're trying to either extract or do a root canal on, anytime there's infection present, it changes the chemistry of our mouths and of our tissues, and that chemical change to our bodies makes it harder for the anesthetic to kick in. So the presence of infection can also make it harder to get numb. And I would say probably, maybe not the most common reason, but kind of the more popular reason that a lot of us find ourselves in is that, and it's something that is very much based in science. It sounds like an old wives' tale, but is very much backed by science, is that for reasons we don't fully understand, people that have red hair or that carry the red hair gene tend to be harder to get numb. And again, we don't fully understand the genetic reason why red hair would have anything to do with getting numb, but it does. I can say from personal experience that, the times I've had a hard time numbing a patient, they're usually a patient that is either full-blown redhead or carries that redhead gene. I know for myself personally that I carry the red hair gene, and in dental school when we were trained to numb, we practiced on each other, our classmates, and I was always a hard one to get numb, again, because I carry that red hair gene. So that is probably the most popular reason that we see for having a hard time getting numb. So again, a lot of other factors that can play into it, but chances are, if you historically have a hard time getting numb at the dentist, it's for one of those reasons. And certainly don't want you to feel discouraged by that. I know a lot of those reasons we discussed are reasons beyond your control as the patient, beyond our control as the dentist. So it certainly can be frustrating for everyone involved. You know, no patient wants to be hard to get numb, and no dentist wants to feel like they're letting their patients down by not getting them numb. But where there's a will, there's a way, and a lot of times it's just a matter of, you know, sometimes figuring out what, you know, even down to the individual anesthetic. There's different types of anesthetics out there. Sometimes we can overcome these problems just by switching up our anesthetic. And so don't want anyone to feel discouraged from going to the dentist just because you're hard to get numb, because there is a way to get you numb. It's just a matter of having the patience and the willpower to figure out how to accomplish that. So hope that's helpful for anyone out there that's had a hard time getting numb at the dentist. And certainly if you have any questions about that or any other questions to run past me, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, hope everyone has a great week, and I hope you'll join me on next week's episode of Tooth Teacher Tuesday. Take care.